Poliomyelitis by Ralston. Poliomyelitis. According to a variety of sources, including the World Health Organization, Immunise Australia Program, Helpline, and Medscape, polio is a highly infectious disease that mainly affects the young, those aged up to 5 years, and those with an weakened immune system, for example, the elderly or those with a chronic health condition. Polio is a major illness which can present itself in three ways: non-symptomatic or abortive, which appears as a minor illness affecting approximately 80 to 90% of cases, and symptomatic. This is where the poliovirus has entered the central nervous system. It presents itself in two forms: aseptic meningitis, approximately 19%, and flaccid or floppy paralysis, 1% of cases. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, once polio is contracted, it cannot be cured. Additionally, symptoms may appear in those affected up to 30 or 40 years after their initial infection. This is called post-polio syndrome. Polio is part of a group of viruses called pico-RNA viruses. It is an enterovirus, meaning that it embeds itself in the gastrointestinal tract in order to replicate. Polio or biopolio virus is one of the smallest RNA-based viruses. There's three serotypes of poliovirus, each having a different protein capsid: P1, P2, and P3. In terms of immunity, this means if you're immune to one variation, you do not automatically have immunity to other variations. P1 is the most prevalent variation and is associated with flaccid paralysis. Transmission. The most common mode of transmission of polio is through the fecal oral route. Since the virus first multiplies in the throat prior to invading other tissues, the oral route, that is kissing, sneezing, coughing, is thought to account for some cases. Fecal oral route of contamination. Active poliovirus is secreted in the feces of the person that is infected for up to 7 weeks. Others can come into contact with the virus excreted in the feces in a variety of ways. For example, contamination of water by the feces, which can then be drunk or used in untreated form to clean food or hands. This contamination is then passed onto a new host. Vectors such as flies can introduce cross-contamination through transporting minute amounts of contaminated feces to food sources. In summary, the primary issues contributing to a high incidence of transmission are, according to the WHO, a lack of clean water, poor sanitation, and management of human waste products, including no plumbing. Inadequate hygiene practices promoting cross-contamination, including no soap, not washing hands, and brewing in open areas. Poorly prepared food hygiene and storage. Post-response. The poliovirus is ingested through the mouth and lodges first in the throat, where it colonizes. It then progresses to the gastrointestinal tract, specifically the intestine. During the process of incubation, the virus enters the bloodstream, where it enters the lymphoid tissues and triggers the immune system. A range of symptoms then occurs depending on the health of the host, the viral load, previously acquired immunity, and the strain of the poliovirus. For abortive polio, the incubation time is 3 to 5 days. The clinical symptoms, if any present, as a mild cold or flu. Considering the symptoms are similar to those of many viruses, abortive poliomyelitis cannot be distinguished from any other viral infections. Symptoms include slight fever, fatigue, sore throat, mild headaches, and vomiting. Symptomatic polio has similar prodromal phase as abortive, but with an extended incubation time between 7 to 21 days. The symptoms are created by the immune system's response to the virus entering the central nervous system. Most of the cases of symptomatic polio are aseptic meningitis. The symptoms of aseptic meningitis appear 7 to 10 days after the onset of prodromal phase. They include fever, nausea, vomiting, intense headaches, back and neck pain, muscle stiffness, pain in the extremities, arms and legs, malaise, tired or weakness. The intensity of the headaches and back pain is created due to the immunity covering the brain and spinal cord to swell. Complete recovery follows between 1 to 2 weeks. However, post-polio syndrome is more common with this presentation of polio. While flaccid paralysis only affects 1% of polio cases, its prodromal and initial symptoms will present the same as aseptic meningitis. The symptoms and pattern of paralysis depends on whether in the central nervous system the virus attacks. Many people recover most of their motor neuron function after the infection has passed. If paralysis remains after 1 year, it becomes permanent. There are three presentations of flaccid paralysis: spinal, bulbar, and bulbar spinal. For 79% of those infected by paralysis, the poliovirus attacks the spinal column, damaging the grey matter of the anterior horn of the spinal cord. The, the virus damages the myelin covering the nerves. This stops the nerves being able to conduct the electrical impulses that are needed to the muscles of the lower limbs, resulting in flaccid paralysis. The pattern of bulbar paralysis is the next most common. The nerves arising from the brain, stem, and upper cervical spine are damaged. This results in dysphonia, the inability to use vocal cords, tongue, mouth, or throat for speaking. Dysphagia, or the ability to spit, swallow, difficulty in chewing and regurgitating food. This paralysis may also cause the nerves to the diaphragm to be damaged, thus leaving the patient unable to breathe independently, so they require ventilation. The most rare pattern of paralysis is bulbar spina, affecting only 2% of the population experience paralysis. As it is a combination of both spinal and bulbar patterns, the pattern of paralysis is a mixture of the two forms. How do vaccinations prevent infection? Vaccinations is a method of introducing a pathogen under controlled circumstances to a host organism. The intention is that the host organism's acquired immune response will be triggered, and the host will develop an immunity to the pathogen. The body develops memory cells coded to fight the specific pathogen should it represent at some stage. How does this happen? A vaccine of live, unmutated, meaning disabled, or dead pathogens is given to the host organism through a solution tablet or injection. The body recognizes the antigen protein complex on the surface of the pathogen or infected cells as none of itself. This triggers a response cascade where the white blood cells called macrophages engulf the virus. The macrophage then displays the antigens of the virus on its cell membrane. The macrophages also active or called T helper cells. The T helper cells then activate B and cytotoxic T cells. The B cells clone themselves and form plasma cells that are able to inactivate the viral antigens. These plasma cells make antibodies that are designed to bind only the specific antigen protein complex. The antibodies attach to the antigens of the virus or infected cells, displaying the same antigen, thus inactivating them. Cytokines are released by the antibodies to signal the cytotoxic T cells to destroy the virus. Some of the B and T cells are cloned during this process and set aside as memory cells. In this way, if the virus is reintroduced at a later time, the body can quickly recall how to make antibodies to inactivate the virus before a major infection of the body cells can occur. Most vaccines are created using dead pathogens in order to reduce the likelihood of contracting the actual disease. How do vaccination programs control and or prevent disease? Many organisms have the ability to develop or acquire immunity to the virus that innately would not have immunity to it. Through programs of vaccination, they can be introduced to lower levels of the disease or virus. This allows an adaptive immune process to be triggered. Through the activations of T and B cells, plasma cells are created that inactivate the antigens of the specific pathogen. Some of the cells responsible for creating the specific plasma cells, that is, the T and B cells, are retained as memory cells. If the virus is reintroduced to the host, those memory cells are quickly activated, allowing the virus to be rapidly destroyed. This immunity might only last for a short time or for the rest of the person's life. Vaccination or immunization is the process introducing and reintroducing a person to a specific pathogens that would normally be highly contagious and or have serious side effects and consequences, including death or debilitation. For a highly contagious virus to be contained, it takes more of the population to be immune to it. Thus, vaccination programs target entire populations rather than individuals. The effectiveness of vaccination programs: smallpox. Smallpox was a highly infectious viral disease caused by the variola virus. It could be often fatal, left survivors severely scarred, and was spread through close or direct contact until the WHO led a vaccination program that this virus was not only contained but eradicated. Between the 1960s and 1980s, an aggressive vaccination program that required the collaboration on a worldwide scale was used to contain the virus. By the end of the 1960s, smallpox had been controlled and largely eradicated in all countries except Africa and Asia. Through a coordinated approach of education, vaccination, surveillance, and prevention measures, epidemic hotspots were brought under control by 1980. Smallpox is the first disease that was able to be said to be eradicated. This would suggest that vaccination program and campaign was highly effective. Diphtheria is caused by foreign bacterium diphtheria, and produces a toxin that harm or destroy human body tissues and organs. It occurs most often in immunized children, and transmission is through droplets and close physical contact. Before the vaccine became easily accessible in the 1980s, outbreaks were common and case fatality rates reached 50% in some areas during major diphtheria epidemics. The vaccine is based on the diphtheria toxoid, a modified bacterial toxin that induces the protective antitoxin. Since 1934, the WHO combines the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis vaccines as part of an expanded program on immunization, EPI. The average duration of protection from diphtheria given by this vaccine is 10 years, and natural exposure to toxin C diphtheria or booster shots are required to maintain immunity. From 1980 to 2000, the total number of reported diphtheria cases was reduced by over 90%. This has been a very successful vaccination program in countries with good EPI coverage, more developed countries. However, diphtheria still causes death, especially in countries with poor EPI coverage, and therefore immunization coverage needs to be improved. Poliomyelitis is an infectious viral disease which cripples and can be fatal, mostly affecting children under 5. There is no cure, but safe and effective vaccines. The eradication strategies focus on preventing infection by immunized children until transmission stops. Before the vaccine was introduced, between 13,000 and 20,000 cases of polio, including about 1,000 deaths and numerous cases of paralysis, were reported in each year in the US alone. In Australia, during 1930 and 1950s, there were over 590,000 cases of polio and over 800 deaths occurred as a result. In 1954, Salk's vaccine was tested in the USA by inoculation of school children, achieving 60 to 70% prevention. Over 4 million people were vaccinated by August 1955 with much success. In the 1960s, Southern's oral vaccine was made available. It was cheaper and easier to take than Salk's injectable vaccine. Instead of the dead virus, Southern used a weakened strain of the polio virus. It quickly became the vaccine of choice until the late 1990s, when it replaced again by the Salk vaccine, because the live form caused the occasional case of polio. Today, polio is only considered uncontained in 2 countries of the world, Afghanistan and Nigeria. WHO has highly structured education, vaccine, surveillance, and prevention measures in place within these countries. Since September 2015, 2 of the 3 forms of poliovirus have announced as eradicated, and is anticipating being able to announce the eradication of all forms of poliovirus by 2018. Again, while not fully eradicated, the vaccination program has brought people to the point of being eradicated. This would also suggest that regardless of contentious objectives to vaccination, the program has been highly effective.